Today we are listening to President on the learning triangle. He has something to share with all of us on the learning triangle. And next week we'll continue with the core values of HCC. So without much ado, let's invite President.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The topic I want us to reflect on is something that I believe will be of great relevance to every one of us here, whether you are a teacher or a student or an administrator. The topic broadly is making HCC the flagship Christian university. And the subtopic is by espousing the learning triangle model. This may sound a little bit more academic, but it is not. I want us to approach it in a more practical way so that we can all appreciate and benefit. So, I want to begin, first of all, by showing us that when we talk of learning triangle, we are talking of an education model. Education model. There are several scientific education models that help education institutions like ours to grow and develop, several of them. But as we reflect on making ACC distinctive Christian university for the kind of objectives that we have set to become the flagship Christian university for the purpose of advancing the kingdom of Christ and national development, as we set out to develop virtues such as conviction, character, creativity, compassion, and community. I think one particular education theory that if we will all understand as students and as faculty and as administrators, if we all can get a better appreciation of the learning triangle, we would be able, I believe, it is one particular model that can and that should be able to help us really move or advance towards our objective. Usually when you talk about learning triangle, some people confuse it with the learning pyramid. So I want to begin, first of all, by showing us the difference. We are not, for the time that we have, we are not talking about learning pyramid. But all the same, I want to be able to differentiate the learning pyramid from learning triangle. I just want to show us real quick some characteristics of the learning pyramid, which is not what we are focusing on. So, all right. So, this is not what we are focusing on. This is a picture of one education model called learning pyramid. Now, the learning pyramid, this theory, simply helps us. I want to just give a very basic definition. It simply helps all of us, students, faculty, and everybody, to appreciate how students learn, how students acquire knowledge, how students retain information, retain what we teach them. So, scientifically, it's proven that when the teacher uses the lecture method all throughout, then research has shown that by the end of his lecture, the average student in a class can retain only 5% of whatever good information you give if you use purely the lecture method. But science also shows that if the teacher engages the students in helping them to read or making them read, science shows that the average student who was involved in the reading can retain about 10%, that is over 100, 10% of the knowledge, the information. It continues. If the teacher delivers whatever he has to teach or she has to teach using visual aids, then over 100%, the average student can retain about 20%. And if the teacher so designs the class in such a manner that, he or she can involve the student in some type of demonstration in terms of the topic and the discussion, the average student can retain 30%. So from the lecture up to the demonstration point, the education theorists call the learning that is taking place from the top to the demonstration point is called passive learning. Passive learning. But the bottom three is where active learning is taking place. And this is where the lecturer, the teacher, finds creative ways to help the students to engage in some type of discussion. Discussion is likely going to help students maintain about 50% of what they were learning. And if they were given the opportunity to sort of put into some type of practice, then that has the potential to help them retain about 75%. But where the teacher succeeds in teaching the student, and the students are able to also teach themselves or teach others, what it means is that they have been able to keep about 90% or more of what the teacher has taught them. This is something I refer to as the learning cone. Learning cone. It simply talks about how information is retained in class between the teacher or the lecturer and the student. But this is not what we are talking about. Maybe at some time, another time, we can discuss the implications in more detail. But for now, I want us to focus our attention on the learning triangle, not the learning pyramid, the learning triangle. The learning triangle is also an education theory. But this particular theory describes the relationship between using theory to inform experience or action. The learning triangle uses what you have learned as a lecturer, as a teacher, from your experience and action to inform theory. So it goes both ways. What you acquire from school, from your doctorate, and how you use it to impact students, to teach students, or as you teach students, what you discover from practical experience and that you probably do research on. So that is part of what learning triangle is. Learning triangle actually shows the interplay or the interdependence of what the lecturer knows and what he does. So maybe to simplify it, I would say that learning triangle provides insights that help us to create a more engaging learning ecology. If you want, as a lecturer, if you want a situation where your teaching really engages students, it will happen to the extent that you really understand this theory of learning triangle. Let me illustrate it. Yeah, help me. So look at the learning triangle model. I said that it shows the relationship between the teacher, the subject matter that the teacher is teaching, and the relation between the teacher and the student, and the relation between the student and the subject matter. It will be clear, don't worry, if it's still not clear to you. So look at, let me see if I can point. Okay, good. So the learning triangle is saying that for a teacher to be able to teach the student effectively, he or she must have expertise, mastery of the subject. And for us as teachers, we get this from the degrees we acquired. Now, master's degree is soon not going to qualify anybody to teach in college or university education in Ghana, per the rules of Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. So, what you get from your doctorate is assumed that it should give you expertise, it should give you mastery. So before you come to the classroom to engage a student, you first have to have mastery of the subject. It's so important, because if you have not acquired expertise, mastery of the subject, it will show, it will affect your relationship between you and the student. Students sometimes can go to the internet and get more information about the subject or the topic, and then discover that what we are giving them is even substandard. So the teacher must do everything he or she can to acquire mastery of the subject. And we will talk more about the implications of this. But having acquired mastery over the subject, the way and manner, what goes on between the teacher and the student is so critical. It's so critical. There are some things the teacher must, of necessity, do in order for the transference of knowledge to the student to be effective, to be possible. There are some things that the student also need to know and do to be able for that student to benefit from the knowledge that the teacher is imparting. Then, to the extent that the teacher has mastery and has what it takes, all things being equal, has what it takes to deliver, certainly then the student is also going to be able to develop good knowledge and understanding. Learning is going to be effective, depending upon these two sides, these two dimensions, how well these two dimensions go. All right, so simply, what is here is what you are seeing here. The learning triangle shows teacher-student relationship, it shows teacher-subject relationship, it shows student-subject relationship. In most cases, what happens is that students struggle or don't do well on this side because of what goes on here. And sometimes it is also due to what goes on between the teacher and his ability to have mastery over the information and how he or she gives it to the student. All right, so this should help us understand. Now, you see that the learning triangle, in this case, has become a parallelogram. And it's simple. Everything we've said about the learning triangle still remains. But you see, after the teacher has graduated with his academic credentials for a long time, the research shows that there's the possibility, the chances are high that the teacher can go stale. In other words, become rusty, until the teacher sees the need to have continued education. He may have acquired mastery of the subject, he may have PhD, but after a long time, he will need to retool. He will need to have new tools with which to be able to deliver. And the teacher can help himself or herself by having faculty development. And let's thank God that yesterday and today, and it's not just yesterday and today, in the past, ACC administration has made effort to bring in people to provide faculty members, faculty seminars and workshops, and it is all intended to sharpen our machete, to sharpen our tools. It is so critical that when we are faculty, constantly, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, constantly you need to have faculty development to be able to maintain good grasp over the subject. And then it will reflect here, and then the student will also be able to learn well. But the role of the, I'm not going to spend any much time here, the role of the faculty developer is that he or she has specialization. He looks at the subject or the course, constantly through research, developing new knowledge. And that is what the developer comes with. The developer will not, in faculty development, the developer is not going to reteach what you know. He's only going to help you, give you pedagogical skills that can help you deliver. I hope you follow, but let's make it a bit more practical. Next slide. So, looking at the parallelogram, not the triangle, but the parallelogram, how does a faculty member continue to develop himself or herself in order to stay up to date, for his or her teaching to be on the cutting edge? Faculty development can take place in one of two ways: through formal education. In other words, if you have a PhD, there's nothing wrong for you to continue to research, continue to even do postdoctoral studies. Or you publish. You do research and you publish. And you attend conferences and seminars. These are all these approaches can be formal. Informally, you can attend seminars. So here, if we are going to become a university, a Christian university with a difference, we are insisting, and let me say this up front, we are insisting that faculty avail themselves for faculty development. Why? Because that is what will make us different. Otherwise, we will end up giving students or doing what others are doing. In January, I did a seminar in the Central Region for a group of teachers. And one of them told a story that his dad, when completed University of Ghana, his dad studied sociology. And when he also enrolled in the University of Ghana, the handout that he was given, at the end of the semester, he took it home. His dad, who is a retired, was going through and said, "This is exactly the handout that I was given." Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine what is going on? The person is rusty. So, through constant faculty development, that is where we sharpen our tools, our cutlass, our machete, so to speak, to be able to cut well, to deliver. But that is what is expected of faculty. Next slide. Let me go back and take our time and bring certain things out as far as the interrelationship or the interdependence within the triangle, learning triangle is concerned. The teacher-student relationship. The teacher-student relationship. No, teacher-student relationship slide. Take me back to that slide, please. The slide that says teacher-student relationship. All right. Go forward, 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 from here and forward, stay there. The teacher-student relationship is what I want us to start with. The teacher-student relationship is the foundation of all effective teaching and learning. Take a minute and watch this short video clip, and then we will continue. I'm sure you were able to figure out what is going on there. So you have a teacher and you have a pupil, a student, who goes to school, go to the class, always late. And the teacher has a policy. If you come late, he uses the ruler to whip your palm, the fingers. Pushes him, go, and it continued for a long time. Until one day, the teacher was himself going to school and then happened to see this particular absentee, or the student who comes to school always late, pushing a wheelchair. His senior brother is physically handicapped. And what is going on is that every morning before he goes to school, he has to help his brother who is physically disabled to go to his school. He has no means of transportation, so he has to walk to that is the student's own school. And the day the teacher discovered it, he felt so guilty. So he goes to the class, the boy comes in late, and the boy just comes, he knows what the teacher is going to do. So he comes in and said, do it. And we all saw what happened. Teacher-student relationship is so important. Of course, some students, we've all been students before, some students can pretend, some students can lie. But let us not forget, and I appeal to every one of you here, my faculty, our core values, say conviction. If you call yourself a Christian, we expect to see that you are a Christian of conviction. You are convinced from the word of God that a human being, whatever their class, social, economic class, is so important to God, and we must love them. And loving them means a lot. We don't have time to talk about it. But your conviction, out of your conviction, should come your compassion. Out of your conviction should come your compassion. ACC will never be different from all the other schools. We are not in a competition. We are not in competition. But this school exists to live out values that are God-given. And therefore, teacher-student relationship is, as I said, is the foundation upon which all excellent teaching and learning grows. When the lecturer knows his subject well, when the lecturer has mastered his subject with PhD or whatever, he or she must know the student even better. Sometimes students fail. There are plethora of reasons why students will fail or struggle. But sometimes, if faculty would take the second step or go the extra mile to get to know what is going on in the life of students, it will change their perception and even the approach at which they interact with students. Students must know that their teachers are interested in them. And ACC exists to do that. You can't tell me that, well, what if we have 50 or 100 students? When we get there, we will address it. But whether the student size or student numbers are few or more, here we are doing education as mission of God. That is what we are doing here. We expect lecturers or teachers to care for students. We expect teachers to want the best for students. I want to refer your attention to a book. This morning I went to Amazon to check the price, and it's not that cheap. It's about $29, almost with taxes, I think it will exceed $30. But I'll make sure that we get a few copies for our own library. The title of the book is 50 Ways to Improve Student Behavior, and it is based upon research. It was co-authored by Whitaker and another lady by name Brooks, or I can't pronounce the name. But in that book, I've picked a few ideas for us to consider, because it's a book written based upon research. It says, number one, many students do not believe their teachers believe in them. If we were to sample our own students, we are going to, a greater percentage may say that our teachers don't believe in us. From that research, it came out that students who do not believe in themselves have more behavioral and academic problems. Students who don't believe in themselves have more behavioral and academic problems. So the good professional teacher here at ACC will be the one who will give verbal assurance constantly. Verbal assurance is a key. So it doesn't mean pamper them, it doesn't mean flatter them, assess them fairly, but give them reassurance that they can do better. And that alone will do the trick. A good and professional teacher here at ACC will be consistent, will give consistent verbal assurance, because they believe that such assurances can positively impact the student's behavior and the student's performance, even the student's own level of confidence. Do you know that the same research said that most students who do not perform well or who have problems in school think that their parents don't believe in them. Their parents don't believe in them. But if we here in this institution would adopt the mindset that we are going to instill growth mindset in our students, that growth mindset will help the student to become more reflective. Because we have shown that we believe in them. Yes, we've shown them where they make mistakes, but we've also shown them how they can improve. And so we are more positive than negative. Without a strong, caring relationship, the teacher will have much difficulty engaging the students in the subject. So the teacher may know a lot, but the foundation is what we are talking about. What kind of relationship? If I were to take us back, to the triangle, you see, at the base, where you have teacher-student relationship, there are certain things that can impede the progress of your teaching, and the teacher needs to find out. There are certain things, students, this is for you, there are certain things that you must also avoid, or you must also do in order to ensure that there's a good relationship between you and the lecturer or the teacher. It goes both ways, because it's a relationship. It's not just one way, but it goes both ways. The teacher must find out, and I think that the teacher must start it. Because when students come to class, many of them are low self-confidence, the environment is different, they are not sure, and some of them sometimes are shy or timid. But the teacher should be mindful to take the step of developing a healthy relationship between himself or herself, and that is what we expect of HCC teachers. Other places may not care, but here we care. And so when it comes to performance assessment, I'm not scaring, I'm just saying that these will be the things we'll be looking for. We're going to take a second look at the rubric by which we assess faculty. Sometimes students, you assess lecturers. And sometimes you are also so harsh and inconsiderate. The problem sometimes is with you students. You have to show respect. You have to show discipline, so that the teacher will also have be in a better position to help you. But where you are indisciplined, you are always giving excuses, you come to class late, then certainly you're going to have a problem. But teacher-student relationship is the foundation of all excellent teaching and learning. I don't have the time. Perhaps at another time, we will even take these things in segments and look at it in more detail. But the second thing I want to mention is student-subject relationship. Student-subject relationship. So if you have that imaginary triangle, the student is on the far right point of the triangle, and then his relationship with the subject. I bring you a quote from the book I just referred to. It says, the authors said, knowing students well enough to understand the level of their level of relationship, or the level of relationship they have with the subject. The teacher must know the student well enough to see whether they are getting knowledge from the subject or they are struggling. Knowing them well enough regarding their level of relationship with the subject matter enables you, the teacher, to design teaching experiences that will help the students to grow. And how do you do this? You do this through constant assessment. Sometimes we wait till it's mid-sem, then we give some type of assessment, or end of semester. But I think that while that is good and that is a must, when you grade a paper, when you interact with the student, and you see they are making struggles, there's nothing wrong to invite them to your office. There's nothing wrong to approach them as a teacher and talk to them and find out about why they keep making mistakes, why. That is a form of assessment. And that then should help you know how to present your lectures, your materials the next time. And even in the way and manner you make applications. So assessment and appropriate instruction go hand in hand, but it requires that the teacher gets to know the student well. As you can see, I've just talked about the relation between the teacher and the subject, and the relation between the teacher and the student. Time will not permit me to talk about go into details about the relationship between the student and the subject matter. But while I will want us to discuss this in a more detail in a not too distant future, I want to wrap up with the following questions. Question number 1. You all saw the triangle, and you saw that between the teacher and the subject, what goes on there, or what is critical, is that the teacher will have expertise. And to get expertise is not just to say I have the degree, but constantly research, constantly attend seminars, constantly involve yourself in further education, further learning, to polish up. Then, on the base, we saw what goes on. That is teaching. What you give to the student, what you know, what you have. And then the student is supposed to learn using the information you have given him and processing the subject matter. The student will learn. But in the middle of it, here's my question. Next slide. No, the slide. In the middle, what do you think goes on, or should go into the box? I mean, this is not the box. In the triangle. Anybody can help us? What should go on in the triangle? There's a lot that must, besides the teacher and the subject and the student, there's a whole lot that goes on in order for teaching and learning to be effective. Can you imagine anything? Yes, student, I'm glad. Speak out. Materials. What do you mean by materials? Okay, so library. All right, our students. Yes. That's general. What do you mean by commitment? All right. Well, yes. I can hear you. Good communication. All right, but that one is from between the teacher and the student in the classroom. But it's not bad, but that is not precisely what I'm looking for. Okay, for example, pardon me, administrative support. Yesterday, Mindy gave us excellent ideas when she engaged administrative staff. Academic policies. We need to develop academic policies because that is what is going to guide everybody. Everybody in and especially those around the triangle. Administrative support. Let me break it down. What that means, thank you, Provost. What that means is that if you are a janitor if you are a security personnel, what you do is so important. It can contribute to teacher-student relationship, to student-subject relationship. It's so critical. If you are served in the finance, the way and manner you interact with students who come, if you are in the registry, the way and manner you interact with students is so critical. All these are there. You can talk about even the council of the university, policies, broad policies they set, they are there. You can list a whole, the kind of facilities we have. All of them will affect what goes on, the interplay of the critical players, the subject matter, the teacher, and the student. Time will not permit me, but there's a lot that goes on there. Let me show you something. If you remove teacher from where the teacher is, and you put your name or your office there, because you are not a teacher, maybe what goes on between you and the student will not be teaching, but it will be what? You are not a teacher, so if you put your name at the corner, at the angle of the teacher, you will not be teaching, but what goes on between you and the student will be what? Service. 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 So it doesn't matter whether you are an accountant, a security guard, or a cleaner, or whatever. We all contribute to providing excellent teaching and learning. And that is what we want for ACC. New faculty members, we love you, you are welcome. I cannot overemphasize that this is the way this institution is going to go. Well, it's already going. That's how we've started. And this is the way we're going to go. So, here's another question. How can the teacher prevent himself or herself from becoming stale in his or her area of academic expertise? Any response? What will keep the teacher on the cutting edge of teaching? Yes, sir. Scholarship, research. So when your provost comes and he's pushing you, it's not being mean, it's critical, it's necessary. I read an article that says that after 10 years of your PhD, your knowledge is old. After 10 years of your PhD, your knowledge is old. So then, what if you don't even have a PhD? So, scholarship will involve researching, publishing, writing blog, attending seminars, presenting at conferences. All that is critical. All right. So, go to the next slide. I think I've already talked about it, the program. Okay. So, you see, faculty development will continue to make you stay on top of your knowledge of the subject matter. And then it will show in the way you teach, and it will also have positive impact on the student's learning. And then the student, hopefully, all things being equal, the student will do better. Perhaps this will be my last but one question. Why is it the teacher's responsibility to know and care for the student he or she teaches? Why is it the teacher's responsibility to know and care for the student he or she teaches? Yes, sir. To impart knowledge. Thank you. So your knowledge is good because you have the mastery. But if you can show care, you get to know the students better, and that will inform you as to how best you should help the student, especially those who struggle with the course or the subject. All right. How best can the teacher help the student to improve their learning and behavior? How best can the teacher help the student to improve upon their learning and their behavior? Any ideas? All right. Yes, your hand is up. All right. A good relationship. This is how far time will permit me. I'm sharing time today with Provost to update us on a charter, which is very critical. And I have rushed. I know I've rushed through this presentation, but it's a presentation that called for questions and answers. But because of lack of time, forgive me. If you have any comments, questions, see me after we are dispersed from here. May God help us. We are not out to make fame or name. We are out to deliver true Christian higher education. We are not here to deliver education, but we are here to deliver true Christian higher education. And these are some ideas and principles that can help us if we uphold them. May God bless us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's invite Provost for the announcement.